So why? I was in a gym on Friday night. There was maybe 1,000 people in the stands. We had a team from up north playing a team from the suburbs. At one point I'm on the floor, I'm looking at the stands, and I'm going, I bet you I couldn't say I could count on both hands the number of teams that were up north, but I bet they didn't have 20 people in the stands. So just think about that. Your team's playing, maybe there's 20, 25 of your fans going against close to 1,000 for the home team. What makes the difference if two teams are, let's say they're similar in skill set, but the home team's going to win? And I saw one study that depends on the league, on the professional level, when they surveyed all the big NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, soccer, they did those surveys. On that level, I saw anywhere from 52 to 59% of the time the home team's going to win. Why? Because think about it, because when those teams play on the road, right, when the home team goes and plays on the road, they are more likely to lose. So what makes the difference? Because you're just playing at home. Now, not complicated, not trying to make it that way. If you think about what are the things that are an advantage of the home team, one is that they just listed factors. One of the factors is you're sleeping in your own bed. You're familiar with the restaurants. You know your route to the stadium. You don't have to guess. You're just it's all familiar to you, right? It's home-cooked meals. It's like you're living at home, all right, and then you're going to go to work versus you're packing a suitcase and you're going to travel for 3 or 4 days and you're going to live in a hotel. That's a factor, okay? It's not the biggest factor, but it's a factor. The two big things, though, that determine that the home team's going to win, that they've just have shown consistently, is the crowd cheering for you is huge. Anybody play sports? I'm sure some of you have at various levels. It's not just sports, whatever. But isn't there something about when you know people are cheering for you that sort of lifts your spirits, right? That like gives you a little bit of boost there, you know, when you know like, it's just when we're little, we're the kids who go, hey, mommy, hey, daddy, look at me. What are they saying? They're looking for approval. They're looking for that applause. They're looking for that sense of like, hey, take notice, cheer for me, okay? So the home crowd makes a difference. The home crowd booing makes a difference, right? I was watching that gym, man. We had a moment, we had about a 3 to 4 minute stretch where the visiting team was within 3 to 5 points of the home team. And the home crowd got into it, and I mean it got loud. It got loud like we couldn't hear whistle loud, okay? And they were cheering their guys on, and there was a surge with the home team. And they made a couple of putback baskets. They had one fast break layup, and the crowd's going crazy. And you could just sort of sense with the visiting team a little bit of deflation. Like, oh, man, we put up this fight, and it just, oh, wow, man. So the home crowd getting into and cheering and conversely booing makes a difference. And then the thing that oftentimes goes, if you're around sports, you'll know it, you'll see it. The home crowd booing the officiating, the umpires, those who are in charge of the contest, they have found makes a difference. What do I want to say? Everybody wants approval. Everybody wants someone cheering for them. And I might suggest to you that the people that are maybe moving ahead in life have somebody in their world that's cheering for them. And people who don't feel like they've got anybody cheering for them feel like you're just swimming upstream all the time. You're just like doing the best you can and nobody's really egging you on. And you know what? It gets tiring. You would have to say, it gets tiring to keep trying to do the right thing and nobody seems to notice and you don't seem to get ahead. And it's like, why? Why bother? What I want to talk to you about this morning is a sense in which I think when Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, if you grew up in church, it was called the Sermon on the Mount, that's what I've always called it, right? Is a sense of God's approval, God's cheering us on, and what does it look like? Who are the people that God cheers on? And I'm going to venture, I want to say to you, God doesn't cheer everybody on. So don't take it carte blanche. God does not cheer everybody on. But there are people in this life that I think God applauds. And I don't know about you, but I would rather be the home team and having 1,000 people cheering for me than having 1,000 people working against me. And take that into the cosmos, and is there a sense in which you can know God is approving you, cheering for you, clapping, saying, let's go? Or like, oh man, do I feel like God's actively working against me? It would be interesting to take a poll this morning. Because I bet you there are people that are listening, people that are watching, where you feel like, I don't know, I don't sense that God's on my side. And so maybe this morning, what I could hope you to just maybe get you to think differently is, okay, what if it is possible for God to cheer you on? But what would it look like? Okay? What kind of person does God cheer on? Matthew chapter 5. Would you open your Bibles there? If you have them. Life in the kingdom. The people that God cheers for. Matthew chapter 5. Hopefully I got you thinking there that maybe a little bit that God doesn't necessarily cheer for everybody, but there are large crowds of people that God does cheer for. I want to be on that side, okay? I don't want to think, oh man, I don't know. So you're in Matthew chapter 5, 5 through 7, Jesus' first sermon. He's kind of gone public. We sometimes in culture use the word manifesto. You see somebody leave a manifesto. It was what their intentions were, why they were behind what they were doing. The Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' manifesto. What is life like in the kingdom? What kind of people are going to be in the kingdom? Okay? Again, a strange concept for us because we don't live under a king and we don't live in a kingdom. We have no king's day, right? You don't want a king. You don't want a king. You got no idea what it's like to live in a kingdom. You got no idea what it's like that if the person on high says you're going to jump and you're going to jump 3 feet, you're going to jump 3 feet or you're going to suffer for it. You don't get that. You got to vote. You want your vote to count. You want to say what you want to say. And you don't want anybody to tell you different. And that's just the way we're wired here, okay? In the kingdom, Jesus comes preaching to a group of people that knew what it was like to live under somebody else's authority. The Jewish people lived in a time where the Romans ran the show, okay? And the Romans did what they wanted to do, and they gave the Jews a little carve out, but then they taxed them, and like it just was like they sort of under Herod gave them a little bit of freedom. Hey, you go be Jewish people, but here's your box, stay in your box, stay in your lane. And Jesus is now going to come, and in Matthew chapter 4, Jesus went throughout Galilee. Verse 23 is where I'm reading. He's teaching in their synagogues. Notice the next sentence, because I have it highlighted in my Bible. He's preaching the good news of the kingdom. They've known the bad news of the kingdom. And Jesus is going to come along, and he's going to say, hey, I want to talk to you about another kind of kingdom that's good news, and their ears would have perked up. Yeah, Messiah, yeah, God rules. Yeah, we're going to put the Romans in their place. We're going to put them down. We're going to get out of here. We're going to be our own people. It's the good news. It's a word for, when there's a newspaper font that's called Good News. It's all big. It's all bold. It's like, get hold of this. Good news of the kingdom. What's the kingdom? Jesus said, hey, when you pray for what? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And here's what a lot of people think. Myself grew up thinking this. I want to get saved. I want to know Jesus because I want to go to heaven. And I'm going to endure some stuff until I get there. And man, I've been really rethinking and wondering, remember Jesus' prayer was, thy kingdom come to earth. What is it like for the kingdom to come to earth? If your salvation is just for when you die, sometime whenever that is, that's a long time of doing what? Spinning your wheels? What if Jesus was preaching for the kingdom of God to come to earth through the people of God? And so he's preaching this message of good news. There's a coming kingdom. He's healing disease and sickness among the people. 24, news is spreading about him all over Syria. And everybody who's sick, he's healing them. And so man, you got somebody that's hurting and you're bringing them to Jesus because Jesus is doing some really cool stuff. And you're just hoping maybe this pain can go away. And this is going on. And then Jesus comes to Matthew chapter 5 and he says, okay, let's just talk about the kingdom a little bit. Let's talk about what that kingdom looks like. Is it just heaven, like when you're gone? Or is there a sense in which here and now, God's people are supposed to enact and do something? So when he saw the crowds, Jesus went up on the mountainside and he sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. There's masses following Jesus. The word disciples there, I think, really means learners. It's not the 12. It's bigger. It's these people that have been listening to his message. And so they're just following. Some are following closely. Some are following from a distance. They're sort of intrigued by what they hear. What's going to be different about this? And so Jesus, he takes them and he just begins to teach them about what life in the kingdom is going to be like. What are the people in the kingdom going to be like? I could say to you in my vernacular, we understand, hey, what a Christian is supposed to be like, but I think it's bigger than, it's just different than for me. What am I, as a citizen of the kingdom, supposed to live like? Somebody who wants his own way, somebody who wants my boat, somebody who wants to do things the way I want to do them. I don't want you to tell me how to live. You don't want me to tell you how to live. You don't think that's true? That's a conflict in our culture, friends. We got people telling us what to do and how to live, and we don't like it. And I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, when the other side does what you don't like, you rise up and you say no. And we got a great divide because you don't want the other side to tell you what you should be doing, how you should be thinking. And Jesus is going to come and say, okay, in my kingdom, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you how you're supposed to live and what kind of person you're supposed to be. And I'm going to say to you this morning, some of you are going to hear this, and you're going to go, I don't think so. True story, this week, somebody asked me, what are you preaching on Sunday? So I gave them a quick outline. And they're like, oh, man, yeah, I just love Sermon on the Mount. I said, I think it's an ideal. I don't think we can ever get there. I don't think this is something that we can ever attain to. It's just so hard. And I was like, you know what? I disagree with you because if Jesus gave me something that I can't do, what the heck good is it? I don't think Jesus came preaching ideals. I don't think Jesus came saying, hey, here's what's going to be one day in heaven. You just slog it all out for whatever existence you got here. I don't think Jesus got up on this mountain and said, let me give you guys a little like theory about life, what's going to be like one day. I think he's talking about here and now. I think he fully intended when these crowds came to him, and they've been living under Roman rule, they knew what a kingdom was. He's going to talk to them about a different kind of kingdom. Jesus gathers everybody around him. He says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Boom, he comes right out of the gate. Blessed are those who mourn, for they're going to be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they're going to inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. He bookends it. He starts talking about the people who are going to be in the kingdom of heaven, ends with the people who are going to be in the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were there before them. I think the people that, I just took note here, the people that God blesses, one of the things are those that admit their need for him. Take that word blessed. It's 8 or 9 times there. What's it mean to be blessed? You know what it means? In its simplest form, it means that you're at peace in your soul. Your heart's at rest. It's from the Old Testament word shalom. It just means like, man, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Blessed people are people that in their spirit can look at life and go through life and feel like, I'm okay. I'm not anxious. I'm not fretting about this. I'm not going to get wigged out about this. In my spirit, it's okay. And the first thing that Jesus says with the first couple of these is the people that God is cheering for, as I say here, the people that God blesses are those who admit their need for him. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. What is to be poor in spirit? It has nothing at all to do with your financial wallet. It has everything to do within your heart. Is there an admission that you're in poverty? Can you see right out of the gate what a challenge that would be? Because most of us don't feel like, listen, you know you don't have it together. You know you're not perfect. See if I can do this. Most people might say, I know I don't have it together, and then what would be the next word that would come in the sentence? But. Did that come to your mind? I know I don't have it together, but. But what? But you're not as bad as someone else that comes to your mind? I know I don't have it together, but I'm not as bad as. And when you insert the word but, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? You're trying to justify yourself. You're not as bad as someone else you can think of. The poor in spirit say, I'm not as good as I need to be, period. There's no but. To be poor in spirit means there's an admission in your soul that you need God. And this is where we start. Nothing else matters. There's no sense going any further. This is not a list that you pick and choose from. Okay, I'm pretty good at this one, maybe not so much at that one. You come out of the gate by being willing to admit that you need Jesus. Blessed, those at peace in their spirit, are those who have come to a place of admitting that they need God. The kingdom of heaven belongs to those people. Those are the people that God's cheering for, are the people who say, I don't have it all together, and Jesus, if you don't help me, I'm never going to get it together. He said, blessed are those who mourn. He follows up with this sense of poverty in my spirit with those who mourn. And to mourn simply means that your heart aches now over your sin, over the loss, over the brokenness that you see. Man, just hear me. This is not happening in our world. It happens so infrequently in people. What's happening in our culture ought to break your heart. There are people dying. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. People were being shot in the back. People were being shot in the temple. And you can say, hey, they deserved it. But see, what you just revealed was a lack of mourning over the brokenness that is all around us. The people that inherit the kingdom of heaven are those who see a need for God, and they just like it aches in their heart that God isn't king. It crushes them that people inside the church and outside the church don't worship him as king. And they just like it just kills them. That's what mourning is. It's this intense grief. It's a grief that like, man, what is going on? And we don't grieve. You grieve when you face personal loss. When something hurts you really bad, you might grieve. The people in the kingdom grieve over others' loss. It bothers them to see what's going on. Jesus said it. Jesus said, "Blessed are they who mourn, who understand what it's like to be broken over the brokenness that you see. They're the ones who are going to be comforted." Because what is so easy to do is like, all right, man, I got it bad. Oh, yeah, but you don't have it as bad as I do. Those are the people that I think God is applauding. That Jesus said, okay, those in the kingdom, what are those people like? There's a mission of need. There's a hurt over sin. There's a hurt over the pain that people see. And they're like, man, how can I help? Because that's going to lead me to the second thing. Or the question I have for you then, it's really an issue of dependence. Who are you depending on, yourself or the Lord? Patty will tell you this week, there was a night in which I've just, people have asked me this week how I'm doing. I won't use the word, I'm upset. I'm honestly upset. I'm upset over what I see in the church. I'm upset what I see in the world. I'm upset over the pain I see. I'm upset at not being able to do anything about it. Not being able to be a help. There are times when I feel like telling people I pray for you doesn't feel like much. When you see the hurt, when you see bustedness going on in families, and you feel powerless to do anything about it. And I personally have had to say, God, maybe this is where he's pushing me to. I can't. Maybe I'm trying to be too independent. Because that's what you want to do. You want to fix things, don't you? I don't want to wait for God to do stuff. So what if God doesn't do it the way I wanted him to do it? What if God's got a different plan? I don't like his plan. And so the question I think Jesus might ask this morning is like, are you self-dependent? Are you independent? Or are you God-dependent? Are you able to wait on him? Are you able to trust him that he's going to do what's the best thing to do? The people that God celebrates are those who give up control. Jesus moves on and he says, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Meekness is gentleness. It's strength, but it's under control. It's not out of control. You see people that get out of control, that's not meekness. Jesus was meek. Jesus could have called down armies, but he didn't. Right? It's the ability, you know what you could do, but you don't have to do. That's the interesting thing. You know what you're possible that you could maybe do, but you refrain. I could say this and give you peace of my mind. I'm going to choose not to, right? Meekness is the idea of a river that is overflowed the banks is disastrous. Within the banks, great control, good things can happen when we harness that power. Okay? Blessed are the meek, those who stop trying to be in charge, those who yield their strength to the Lord. For he says there, that those people will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those who desire God's agenda over their own. You and I doubt the last time you were really hungry. I doubt the last time you were really thirsty. Possible somebody here or somebody watching, that's the case. But man, when I get hungry, when I get thirsty, boom, just go to the fridge and fill it, right? So we don't understand what it's like to be passionate for God's agenda to take place. For God's agenda to take place in your life. For God to rule over your life because you've yielded your life to his control. True story. blew me away this week. I just thought this was humorous. I read it. A guy wrote in. He said, hey, I'm having a problem with my girlfriend. Maybe his girlfriend wife. He was an advice line. He said, it's no secret in my house. I buy the groceries and I cook the food. So in his own words, about 60% of the time, I give myself the best cut of meat. What you think about it? And in his reasoning, in his mind, this was acceptable. I buy it, I cook it. If there's two pieces of meat, one's a little bigger than the other one, I take the bigger piece, about more than half of the time. And he got blasted online. You know what I found interesting? I'm trying to process. How did he get there? How did he get there to thinking like that was acceptable behavior? I mean, I've searched my brain for great illustrations about what it's like to always want to be in control. That's what this guy is. I'm in control of the meat. I'm going to take the bigger piece. Do you live to take the bigger piece? You look for ways to put yourself out in front, elevate yourself, take charge, be the man, be the woman. Is it tough for others to go in front of you? Tough for you to bite your tongue when you got something to say? Tough to yield control? You have a hard time doing that? Then you understand what Jesus was saying. He said the people in the kingdom are those who yield control to the Father, who don't have to have their own way, who live for God's agenda, not their own. That's people in the church Jesus is talking to. He's talking to his followers. He's saying, look, it's natural to want to take the biggest cut of meat. It's natural to want to elevate yourself. It's natural to want to go first. One of the biggest, funnest things I have is whenever we have a potluck out there and we serve food. I'm always looking to see who wants to go first. I'm always looking to see who wants to hang around back and let others go first. It's just a social experiment, right? When that's happening, when you see opportunities to serve someone else, to put someone else first, do you take it? Or do you, because if you don't get yours, what's going to happen? Do you remember the story in the Old Testament of the woman? If you may not, so I'll give, for some of you that have grown up in church will remember. There's a baby, and two women are claiming the baby. And they come to Solomon and they say, hey, we don't know who the mom is. Both these women are claiming to be the baby. And so Solomon doesn't know what to do because he doesn't know who the mom is. And so Solomon says, here's what we'll do. We'll cut the baby in half and we'll give each woman half of it. Okay? He's just like, you guys, I don't know who it is. Let's cut the baby in half. You all get a half. And do you remember the response of the two women? One of the women said, that's a good idea. And the other woman said, that's a bad idea. Give the baby to her. And Solomon said, I know who the real mom is. Because the real mom is willing to sacrifice. The real mom is willing to save the life of her baby. The fake mom doesn't care. Friends, you know the love of your heart when you're willing to sacrifice for something. And if you're not willing to sacrifice for it, you really don't love it. You might like it, might be a good idea to you, but the things you love, you'll sacrifice for. The church, when you love the church, when you love the body of Christ, you're willing to sacrifice because Christ loves the body. Your family, when you love your family, you'll sacrifice for your family. If your family's nice for you, it's a convenience, but you really don't, your heart's really not in it, then you're going to protect your heart. Jesus said, blessed are the meek, those who have and can do, but choose not to do. Blessed are those who have a passion to see the right thing done. They hunger for it, like it drives them. They want to see God's rightness. They want to see rightness between men. They want to see rightness in the church. They want to see rightness at their place of work. And they're willing, because of their love for Christ, to say, hey, God, how can you use me? God approves of those people. He cheers for those people. The third thing then that I notice is, well, here it is. Is there an area of my life I need to turn control over? Is there something you're fighting God over? Is there something you're still hanging on to because you can't trust God's plan with it? And then he says, God honors those who bring healing. This is how he sums up. All right, so who are these other people in the kingdom here? What do they look like? He said, blessed are the merciful. They're going to be the ones who get mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers. I say here that we need more healers and fewer critics. We got enough critics right now, right? We need those who are grace givers. The merciful are the people here that say it's not a feeling or emotion. Rather, mercy is an action. The merciful are those whose heart is tender and feel in their deepest parts of their being the pain and suffering of those they're trying to help. Merciful people are looking for ways to be a help to those who are hurting. To those people, Jesus said they're going to get mercy. Those people who give grace, why would I do that? So that's a fair question. Why be merciful to others? Why give a hoot about others? I would suggest to you, you can't. And you probably won't until you've received the mercy of God. And anybody who's had the grace of God touch their life knows what it's like to be a recipient of God's mercy, and you just want to spill that out. You just want other people to know it because it's made a difference in your world, and you want to see God at work in other people's world. He said, blessed are the pure in heart, people who aren't fake. I think there's a lot of fakeness going on. I think there are a lot of people that act one way. True story, her true story. Guy goes to Golden Corral after church. He's all dressed up. It's clearly he's been in church. And he sat and he's worshiping, and he's sang the songs. And doggone it, if some 20-year-old gal who's brand new on the job, just starting to serve, accidentally takes and bumps, and as it bumps into the guy, his tray spills on him, and he blasts her. He just lets her have it. Got a brand new suit on. Can you just imagine? He's just like all down here, and like he just like, da, 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 da. And somebody watching drew the conclusion. Dude was in church, sat there for an hour and 10, went in one ear and out the other. And I would fair say there's a lot of times where it feels like, doesn't it, that people are sitting in church and it's going in one ear and out the other. Because the people that God is at work in are people where there's no mask. They're not faking it. You've been receiving the grace of God, and so when your world gets bumped, what do? You give the grace of God back out. And is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Do I like being cussed out on a basketball court? Not at all. I don't appreciate it. Have I learned how to respond to it? Absolutely. Yes, I have. Does it happen in culture? Yes, it does. People at the job? Your boss? Yeah. But you know what? You know what you have control over? Is how you respond when your boss does whatever your boss does. That's what you have control over. And so then the peacemaker are those that step into the chaos and they de-escalate. They bring calm. Blessed are the peacemakers, it says, for what? They will be called sons of God. The pure in heart are going to see God. Let's think about this. So what does it mean to see God? what would it mean for the pure in heart, those who are not fake, the real people, those who act with integrity to see God? Because that's the promise. Jesus said, they will see God. Pure in heart will see God. Peacemakers will be called sons of God. You know what I don't think it means? I don't think it means that everybody who dies, and we just assume they're going to heaven, they're going to see God. I don't think it means that. I think it means here and now, people who act with integrity will see God at work. I think people who bring chaos are not going to see the hand of God. I think the people who bring calmness because of their faith are going to see God reconcile relationships. I think the peacemakers who talk to people about faith and try and introduce people to Jesus are going to see God at work in the lives of other people. And they're one day going to see God. And in this day, they're going to see the hand of God. They're going to see the evidence of God all over them. I think these are the people that God is cheering on and saying, man, there's a whole bunch of chaos out there in culture. Would you step into it and bring peace? There's chaos in your workplace. Can you be an instrument of peace? Do your words look to lower the temperature? Or are you just trying to make sure like you don't get stepped on? Can your heart's attitude look to help people and elevate people around you? Or like, man, you just got to look, make sure you take care of yourself? Can you understand that when Jesus gave these words, I think we think this just doesn't matter. Doggone friends. Do you remember the story Jesus told? A guy came to him and said, Jesus, what do I have to do to get into heaven? Remember the story? If you grew up in church, you might remember it. And Jesus said, well, what are the commandments? And so, guy, we're listing them off. Jesus lists them off. And the guy says, well, I've done all that. I guess I'm in. What do I lack? I don't know, Jesus. And Jesus said, all right, well, okay, one more thing. You need to go and take everything you got and sell it and give it to the poor. And you remember the guy was like, doggone, eureka, I didn't think about that one. What did the guy say? What did he say? He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. What did he do? He turned around with his tail between his legs and he walked away. And I'm fond of saying, Jesus said to him, stop. Just stop. I was too hard on you. I'm really sorry. And Jesus let him walk. Jesus, the Son of God, let him walk. You know what the guy's name was? You know what his name was? Sort of a trick question. He never named. You know why he wasn't named? His life wasn't changed by Christ. See, he was what I've been trying to illustrate to you. He was a proud man that was a religious man. He was in the temple. He was a church-going dude. He kept all the commandments. He wasn't a pagan out there in the streets. I bet you every Sunday he sat in a church. He was a good guy. He just was filled with himself. He was ego-driven. He didn't admit that there was a need for God. He was curious about this Messiah guy, right? Why else go to him? But when Jesus said, here's what you need to do, you need to go and sell all and come follow me, he went away sad and didn't want to sell. And the disciples said to him, man, God, that's going to be so hard. How are we going to get in? That was their response, because here's what you did. You looked at the approval of God as what you got, how much money is in your bank account, how esteemed are you in the community, people talk about you, you got a title after your name, you're a big deal. That's who the people that they believe were favored by God. And so Jesus says, no, you got it so wrong, people. The people favored by God mourn over their sin, mourn over the brokenness of others, look to bring harmony in relationship, willing to yield to God's control. will seek to bring peace, will stand up for what's right, even if it costs them. Those are the people that are getting in the kingdom. My question to you is, are you getting in? Based on what Jesus said. Will you get in? Because if you think you'll get in, here's the message that Jesus has. Here's the message he has for you. If you think you're going to heaven, is who you're taking with you then? Who's coming with you? Because you're living out kingdom values. Because you're not living for yourself. You're not promoting yourself. It's not about you. You're dying to self, that Christ might be exalted in you. And we're just wanting to make heaven crowded. I love what somebody said, we're making heaven crowded. Thought it was interesting to me, in his book, The Hero Code, there's a story of the North Platte Canteen. Anybody heard of it? North Platte Canteen. Praise team's going to come back up. North Platte Canteen was in rural Nebraska. It was a stop on the way of the Union Pacific Railroad that were taking soldiers from the West Coast to the East Coast to get shipped off to World War II. Okay? So, train, West Coast to East Coast, middle of Nebraska, filled with soldiers going to war. At the North Platte Canteen, one day, out of the blue, a young woman, her name's not named, decided to make some sandwiches for the soldiers on the train. Put together just some sandwiches so that those men and women going off to war would get something halfway on the way. Her act of kindness was so well received that before long, all of North Platte turned out, and they were providing food, gifts, cards, letters. There was a band that was offering dance. There was money. There was anything to help the soldiers on their way out of town. And over the next 4 years, North Platte, Nebraska, cared for over 6 million soldiers, with every soldier being remembered the thoughtfulness of the people of that town. Because one woman made sandwiches, did what she could. Why is this a big deal? Science tells us that certain acts of giving cause the brain to secrete a hormone that generates feelings of well-being. It says here, McCraven says, well, we don't really need science to tell us that. Since childhood, most of us have known that what? It is better to what? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Why is it better to give than receive? And then he writes, the fact is, no society can long survive unless there exist strong bonds between individuals, families, communities, states, and nations. Neighbors helping neighbors, communities coming together in times of need, each act strengthening the fabric of society, and by doing so, allowing for the survival of the species. If we lose our sense of charity, of kindness, of compassion, if we become hardened to the troubles of others, then we will not survive long. Jesus calls us to a different kind of life. God cheers us on in living that kind of life, other-centered, grieving over the pains and the sin that we see, wanting to see other people in a better spot, bringing peace. The question for you and me, because I'm asking myself this every day when I get up, is what kind of man will I be in this world? What will it look like for Christ to live through me? What will it look like for Christ to live through you? That's the question you've got to answer.